Alright, it's all good. We're live. What were you gonna say? Take it away.
And, well, shall we start at the top then, of what you wanted to discuss?
I don't really care. That's really, like, not any particular order there. But that's... honestly, I think we should hold on to that until Don shows up. He's the most interested in trying to hash out, like, more details about the scenarios, I think.
Yeah.
I can slash him out or something as we tackle everything, you know? I don't care. Yeah, maybe for that, let's see. So for that, for number 1 and 2 here, so the scenarios and the Hedrons, that's kind of, and even kind of number 3, but we can start with number 3 if you guys want. But number 1 and 2, I would say, is more Don's things, I would say. But number 3, and this is a note we made in the, in the doc, in the Zendikar Expeditions Components doc.
Mm.
And I would say this is kind of a minor point, but... changing, right, the Hedron movement glyph to an artifact movement glyph. What do you think of that? I'm not sure if you saw that note in the doc. You may just want to open it yourself.
I hadn't. I was just scanning through. I saw some comments been added.
Well, there's been a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go towards the bottom. Like, you're talking, it's on page 21, it looks like, maybe 20, whatever. It's like 80% of the way through the doc.
Yeah. So yeah, so I like that idea, except that artifacts aren't in the rules of Zendikar Expeditions. Like, artifacts as a thing don't exist.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll have to.
So we'd have to get all the rules for artifacts, or at least like the base rules for artifacts, into this set just for that one thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Although it would then be built upon later, the next set. That'll be my concern.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking with artifacts currently. I'm thinking let's try to keep the Hedron movement glyph as the Hedron movement glyph currently, and then maybe like in the future, whenever we do make artifacts, then we can change the wording of that glyph, so we don't have to put more work in right now to do even more playtesting, balancing the rules. Let's try to save that for whatever next set we will be making that will have artifacts in it that are currently planned.
Oh, that'll be Kaladesh, right? Like, Kaladesh is coming right after Zendikar Expeditions, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's literally the set after. Like, once we're done with this set, we're, like, immediately jumping into, well, I guess the main introduction of artifacts. That was the plan. So... yeah, I'm not really on board with the idea of, like, making the Hedron movement glyph and then, like, whatever, like, retroactively changing it once we actually introduce the artifact set, let's say Kaladesh, and so that's the plan, yeah?
Mm.
It's just, yeah, it kind of sucks to have to be like, well, then let's just make it a whole artifact movement glyph, and then it's like, yeah, we have to think way ahead about artifacts now.
Especially as I imagine... with artifacts, it'll be a mix of ones that could be moved and wouldn't be moved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I guess perhaps it might be worth. I mean, it says looking ahead a bit, but to say that any of the battlefield artifacts by default can't move, and it's just special things like the Hedrons that have extra rules that allow them to move. And then movable artifacts would be would maybe operate like the treasure glyphs that could be carried.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I do like the idea though that Don had here. It's just a matter of, oh boy, I didn't think about having to define artifacts. Yeah,
from a comprehensive rule standpoint, it's fairly easy. You just say artifact is a super type. That's like all the rule that's needed. But when it comes to writing the friendlier rulebook, you have to do a lot of explaining about artifacts, and then when it comes to writing the wording of the not the hedron, of the glyph, and the glyph scrolls, it would then have to be like what artifacts can be moved, what can't be moved, and how and when that applies.
Yep. Right, because so in your mind there is definitely going to be static artifacts that can't be moved.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Things like the one that comes to mind, I've now forgotten the name of. Let me try and find it. Ether Tower or something. What's this called? Where's that artwork from? I found the picture I was thinking of, but I don't know what card it's from. Ether Flux Reservoir, that's it. So, one. So, this card, if I throw it in here, I'm gonna come across. There you go, so something like this card. I mean, not obviously the abilities, but like this is like a structure, but it's an artifact structure that has some kind of effect, and you can do like, you know, more structure type artifacts that have area effects or players can interact with, figures can interact with.
Oh yeah. I think we did talk about this. I remember this now.
Versus like equipment that would be carried along with the like by figures and give them boosts.
Oh, okay.
I guess the point is that to distinguish, if we were putting things like that as artifacts, it's like a distinguishing between ruins versus artifacts that are on the battlefield.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of right. Like, what do we want to be if like an artifact in the future and all that, which is like wide open. It seems wide open to me anyway. Like, as someone who doesn't play Magic the Gathering, the actual card game, it's like Jack has certainly like, or Don, whoops, he has certainly a lot of ideas about what he wants to see out of artifacts, and I just, it's beyond me.
Yeah, there's a lot of scope with them, and I guess also like the theoretical, a creature gets a boost if it's within 2 spaces of an artifact. Should that apply to Hedrons or not? Should it apply to cryptoliths, for example? Should it apply to other ruins?
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
So I guess in summary, my opinion is that artifacts should be left well alone in Zendikar. And we just take Hedrons to be like cryptoliths. They're just a magical ruin with extra abilities or extra properties.
Yep. Right, kind of like the cryptoliths have like that scale thing, where it's like you can scale them for 4 move. It's like, the Hedrons is probably going to be kind of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a good point. I wonder. Oh, here's Don. Go ahead, tell Don the wonderful news. Don, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Oh well, you know, we're in the midst of big gaming. Believe it. But we played like 6 different games, but AOTP was on the docket. So I've got a map and I've got plans for another map that I intend to build once everybody's like left.
Oh my goodness.
What number are you guys talking about right now?
We skipped number 1 and 2 because we figured you want to be more involved with those, or at least I figured you did. So we're on number 3 right now.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
We are. We're pretty much done, I think. Anyway, Luke, I don't know if you want to sum up everything you basically just said.
So points I was making is that trying to make the Hedrons an artifact in this set would mean that we'd have to add in a whole set of rules about artifacts, like all the basic rules about artifacts plus more specific ones about Hedrons, and then it would also raise questions that we'd have to like address now, even though we haven't made a lot of artifacts that will be coming later. And so I was giving examples of things like some object on the battlefield that's like permanent static object that shouldn't move, but is an artifact and gives area effects, versus like artifacts that can be carried with figures, versus like other artifact things, and how a move artifact glyph would interact with all those things.
We can make the fact that we can't move it, that can be a keyword. I don't think that like, the amount of things that interact with artifacts is pretty low right now. I don't think it would be a problem, you know?
Yeah, well, because at the moment it would be nothing, but it would mean that we'd have to choose or work out how artifacts were going to work in advance of ideas about artifacts.
I mean, maybe
what they would be like.
But I don't think that's because we don't even have any like red spells that interact with them or any of that yet. I mean, if we're gonna have to do it at some point, for having to do it for Hedrons seems to make sense.
And then the counter, I'd say, is that like you can treat the Hedrons the same way that cryptoliths are treated, in that they're ruins on the battlefield with extra properties, but they then wouldn't be
both artifacts, dude. Like, would you disagree with that notion in a flavor sense?
Yeah. Traditionally, they would be artifacts, like in Magic, but so far the cryptoliths aren't artifacts. And at the moment, artifacts don't have any rules within the game.
Word. I mean, let's see. We're not opening up. It doesn't seem like we're opening up a wider artifact conversation on this, on the agenda here. So I don't feel like we need to do that per se. But broadly, I think there's going to be probably 4 different things that artifacts could be, and terrain on the battlefield is one of those 4 things.
Yeah.
So, if we want to make it terrain on the battlefield, Hedrons should be artifacts. You know, we have trees that are on the battlefield that is going to interact with Nissa. So, don't worry about it. I'll be right back. I'll get into this in a minute.
Yeah, no. With the points that Luke I guess I should say Arcanus that he brought up here, I kind of agree that it's like maybe. I feel like I'm more on board with calling them, a magical ruin. I mean, at least it gives. Think of the spells. It gives that stupid ass Trail of Evidence card another magical ruin, at least to work with. So it's a +1/+1. It's an enchantment that the squad gets +1/+1 while they're next to a magical ruin. And I just think it's trash. The spell is utter trash, personally. Yeah. So, anyway, I mean, that's kind of a minor point, but I like the idea that we could treat it as a magical ruin and, like, focus on artifacts in Kaladesh. I really do, like, personally.
Yeah, I guess even after Kaladesh, or even within Kaladesh, there may well be things that are magical ruins that aren't artifacts. Like, it wouldn't be that everything's now an artifact. Like, I think they represent 2 different things. So I guess it's where would we want to draw the line on that?
You got me.
And I think if we were saying Hedrons were artifacts, then we'd have to retroactively make cryptoliths artifacts as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, that really would just depend on what mechanics are involved with artifacts, at the time.
Mm.
And that is something we can do. Funny enough, magical ruins, is that only the cryptoliths? Like the cardboard ruins, the walls that you get, those aren't magical ruins, are they?
No, they're just described as ruins.
Right.
And then cryptoliths are the only magical ruins.
Right. Okay.
I kind of took that to be like the different designations of battlefield objects, or two of the different designations of battlefield objects.
Yeah.
Just based on how the rule books were written, they seem to divide them that way.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that idea. I kind of, that sounds much better, honestly, to me. To be like, yeah, consider these a magical artifact or a magical ruin now, and then yeah, in the future, if we want to say, okay, all magical ruins are also artifacts, we can then decide, okay, right. I guess the primary thing I would be concerned with at that point would be like the destroy the cryptolith scenario, where like one player has to kill cryptoliths. It's like, how would like artifacts, you know, things that mess with artifacts, therefore, affect that scenario? Like, would it throw things wildly out of balance?
Yeah, if you can deal damage to an artifact or destroy an artifact.
Yeah, like I assume red is going to do something like that.
Yeah. I guess perhaps an easy way out of this would be to say that glyph allows you to move one of the movable hedrons or a movable artifact, and then just not have any artifacts at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also a good point. But then, so what do we change? Like, would we change the name of the glyph so that like that's more clear to, you know, people who just
it could be a glyph of.
What would we call it? A glyph of something movement? Like what? Yeah, what
Something
would we change?
movement.
I actually like your idea. That's actually a pretty good one. To be like, right, it can move a hedron or it can move a movable artifact. That's
Yeah, or something more general so that it could apply to other magical ruins in the future, maybe as well.
That's probably true. Hey guys, I'm back. What's it called? Yeah, sorry about like, you know, popping in and out in the beginning here. I had people over and we were indeed playing this game. So I'm trying to advertise to the wider community, you know what I'm saying? So I was on a mission from Gal.
lights.
Huh?
I see Christmas lights.
No, they're gamer lights, bro.
No, they're gamer lights. Okay, gotcha. This is gaming.
Makes you game harder.
Stupid me. Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I'm here and I'm chilling for the time allotted for our meeting.
Don, so did you catch what Luke was just talking about?
So he said this glyph can move artifacts or magical ruin or
yeah, like there's potential for us to say whether we call it moves artifacts and magical ruins or what.
But you're not suggesting it moves cryptoliths, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Cryptoliths can't be moved anyway.
Then we're saying that we have magical ruins that can be moved and magical ruins that cannot be moved.
Yeah.
This is fine, but I think that the same can be said for artifacts. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well, I think to categorize them, there'd be like, there's ruins, then a subset of that is magical ruins, and then some magical ruins can have extra properties that allow them to move.
Verily.
But
no, I agree.
It's not like
our magical ruin will have that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with
so in fact, yeah, we've got like one of the three types of hedrons can move.
Right. No, I like that. It seems like this phrasing kicks the can down the road a little bit. Because it's kind of like how, you know, some of the cycling payoff cards are like when you cycle or discard a card. But cycling is discarding a card, so like they don't technically need to say that.
Yeah.
So your position, Luke, I believe it is.
Yeah, just call him Arcanus. It's probably the easier thing.
Oh, fair enough. Are we live on stream?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I did not realize that. So, all right. So your position is that they should not be artifacts. Right?
Yeah, I think trying to make them artifacts at this point, trying to make them artifacts at all would cause too many headaches.
Like, we'd have to define, like a lot more about artifacts for the future, like right now, effectively. Or at least it feels like we would have to.
And I think also these magical ruins sit in a nice niche between just bits of terrain and artifacts that like would be used in the future as well. Because I guess in Magic the Gathering card game, these kinds of things are either artifacts or enchantments, like because that's just how the game works.
Or lands, if you think about it.
Or lands, but say sometimes it doesn't make massive sense that something's an artifact or an enchantment, but it's there for its permanent area effect.
Okay.
And that's just how it functionally operates. Whereas I think having these things on the battlefield, sometimes they're artifacts when that's appropriate, and sometimes they're just other objects. It is a good thing to keep.
Word. So, here's a question. Is the, those stupid, the T cutout walls or whatever for the base game?
Yeah.
Are they called magical ruins, or is that something that is that terminology they only put in for the cryptoliths?
We were just saying this to say those are called ruins in the rulebook, and then the cryptoliths are described as magical ruins.
Okay. Hey! Don't eat that, you fuck.
Oh, his dog. His dog's eating his house again. D-Dance, what are your thoughts? You've been pretty quiet.
I think I'm with Arcanus on this one.
Why? What's your
opinion, sir?
what's your key,
Yeah, what's the reason that Arcanus sounds like his as he has the best stance, I guess?
Because, I'm having a blank now.
Word.
That's fine. Think about it.
I
Think
guess
about
it's-
it. We can come back to you in a couple minutes or something.
I want to say it was you that said it, Unhinged, that with the ruling for artifacts, we'd have to come up with that at a fairly quick pace if we are going to change the glyph to just an overall artifact movement glyph. And I don't think, at least with where we are, I don't think it's a great decision to make that decision now to make all of the rules with when Zendikar Expeditions is currently is planned to be released. I don't think it would be the greatest idea to make rules for a whole nother type of figure on the field.
Yeah, like a whole body
I don't
of
think
things.
that's the best decision.
Yeah, and so Don, regarding the whole kicking the can down the road, and I think I'm actually really on board with the whole, we got to figure it out, but the whole make it the glyph of move a Hedron or artifact is that there's nothing wrong with that, because at least in my mind they literally did that in the rules, with common squads, with artifact army cards, they mentioned these things in the rules and they didn't even introduce them. You know what I mean? Right? That's what you mean by kick the can down the road. It's they put a word in there, but it's not actually in the game, really.
Yeah,
so I don't mind that approach.
Yeah, so it's not really a disastrous thing to do that. I'm wondering what you guys think the important rules to hash out for artifacts are going to be, and that might be a little bit off topic for our list. So I don't need a super detailed answer to that question.
Oh, that list is just, by the way, Don. That list, it's not we're not hard set on that. That's just random shit that I decided to toss in there as an agenda. But anyway,
as a teacher, sometimes I like going off topic, but it is not always a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering. What rules will have to be defined for artifacts?
Say, I was imagining there'd be a few different types of artifacts. Say,
I'm on the same boat on that.
yes, the easy one is artifact figures. Is that they're figures but have the super type artifact. Say, can be referenced as artifacts. That's the only real difference with them.
Are you talking like artifact, like squad creatures kind of thing, like an artifact creature? Yeah.
No doubt.
Sorry, Unhinged, I didn't catch that.
Oh, so you're talking like an artifact creature? Like when you say a figure that can be referred to as an artifact, like are we talking like a creature we can summon, and it's going to be like an artifact creature?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so if I'm correct, it'll be something like Solemn Simulacrum from the MTG card game, which is an artifact creature.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that's one form. I get that. I mean, that's literally, they said there would be artifact army cards, so I assume that means a summonable creature, like in the whatever rulebook it was. All right, so what other artifacts are there, though? That's my question.
Other forms. You're saying glyphs should be artifacts?
Glyph, well, we can. Sorry, I misspoke. So, like, it would be some glyph-like technology. Like, this is a treasure glyph from Heroescape.
I was going to say, like
It's
the treasure ones.
It's like represented
Treasure
by a
glyph.
glyph, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, so things like equipment, things that a figure carries with it to get a bonus.
Is equipment considered an artifact?
Yep. In Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So,
Yeah, I have like no
sometimes
real
there are
stance on
things-
artifacts because I don't play. Like you guys are going to be mostly hashing this out. D-Dance, go ahead.
So sometimes, I don't think a lot of equipment has this, but there are some things called living equipment that when they come into play, they enter attached to a 0/0 creature.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay.
I can see some design space for that. It would be an army card, and then you draft it, and then when the creature dies, it leaves an equipment behind.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one prime example is Caldera. I think that's how you pronounce it. Caldera Complete.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blister pod or mortar pod and some other things like that.
Yeah, so that's the ability that some that some equipments have.
Okay.
Is that they enter with a dummy creature to operate on their own to start with, and then they can then be an equipment for another creature if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So
so you
we
could do
have
something like that.
artifact creatures. We have what is effectively an artifact glyph in some form, and then there's going to be like artifacts like destructible objects or like artifacts like terrain or something. Yeah.
Yes, they're on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Say
like something.
they have various abilities. Sorry.
Oh, like something like that Aetherflux reservoir that you posted in the chat in a channel a few minutes ago, Arcanus. Like that would be like an artifact that sits on the field.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be ones like that, and then especially for Kaladesh, like some vehicles would be artifacts that you can interact with, or that are on the battlefield. And
probably like
some of those maybe you don't have to figure out how they're going to work exactly, but some may be draftable and you play them as yours, or be like spells that you play to get like the treasure glyph type things. Something like that.
This thing, I think. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think, and scenarios can include artifacts on the field already.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Yeah, Don, I know you've been really looking into that, or looking forward to that kind of thing, so that would be cool. So that's the thing then, right? It's like we have to design, if we do call this a glyph of artifact movement, and call a Hedron an artifact, are Hedrons artifacts like in the card game by any chance? I don't know. Like, does that even make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so when they appear on cards, they're artifact cards, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then on that note, oh my gosh, like, it feels like we should try that, but yeah, this is going to be a headache.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing about it, right? So on our list, we have artifact creatures, treasure glyph, technology akin to the treasure glyph.
Yeah.
Vehicles is an open question. I'm not even going to get into that.
That's going to be
And
fun.
then destructible objects we listed.
Yeah.
So we have destructible objects, glyphs, and creatures. So if we're going to have a destructible object that might be an artifact at some point, Hedrons are absolutely a destructible object, and they're called a magical ruin under your schema. So we either say magical ruins. So then this is where we get into the future proofing part of this question.
Yeah.
Because if we say that magical ruins aren't artifacts, and Hedrons are not artifacts, then that making artifacts destructible objects, I think, becomes more challenging if we're not doing that, or if we're not doing that here. You know what I'm saying? Because like any future destructible object would be a magical ruin, I think, pretty much, if we make Hedrons a magical ruin.
Not necessarily.
Separate.
Something like the Fortress Door from
the Hero Escape.
What's it called?
Yeah, exactly. The Fortress Door would definitely.
Would that be a magical ruin, or is that just a ruin that's a destructible object?
Well, yeah. Well, it would be. I think magical ruin and destructible object are like two classifications that are close to each other. Right.
They're not all. Well, with the Hedrons we're making in this set, only one of them is destructible, the other two aren't.
Yeah.
Verily. So, I don't see, like, I think Hedron probably has to be a magical ruin. There's like a spell that interacts with magical ruins, right?
Trail of Evidence. We were just talking about that. It's a really bad card in my opinion. And it's like, if we can add any more magical ruins to the game, that would be nice. So that card has more uses instead of just Cryptoliths.
Yeah, I think Hedrons definitely can get to be magical ruins. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, see, the way I see it, magical ruins can be a different thing to artifacts and destructible objects. Even going forwards, even after artifacts are introduced, there might still be things that we want to be magical ruins that aren't artifacts.
Right. But
And
can we have a magical ruin that is also an artifact, do you think?
Yes.
I think yes.
Because if we're gonna say yes to that question, then we should just make the Hedrons artifact.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah, that if you're gonna say a magical ruin can also be an artifact, and the Hedrons are already artifacts, like from the card game.
If we want to say no to that question,
though.
If we want to say no to that question, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. But then it means that, like, if we think that's something we might want in the future, then we should just do the Hedrons now. If we
I guess the other question is our Cryptoliths artifacts? Because if we're making Hedrons artifacts for those reasons, I think Cryptoliths would fall into the exact same reasons.
Yeah.
In the card game, are the Cryptoliths also considered artifacts? Like, are there cards artifacts?
So, Cryptoliths in Magic, I don't think they're... So, there are 14... There are 14 cards with Hedron in the name.
Uh-huh.
Out of the 14...
Why do you know this?
Because, you know what? I will share my screen. I got you.
Oh, you already have it.
Google.
Google.
Scryfall. Very powerful. So
Scryfall.
This is alright. So this is everything with Hedron. So this is an enchantment that has to do with Hedrons. So that's one thing. Everything else, like, oh word, this is a creature that fucking grinds Hedrons into dust and snorts them like crack. Like, that doesn't count. You know what I'm saying? But we have 8 artifacts that are, representing Hedrons. This one being the most, like, iconic. Hedron Archive. Okay. So then when we go to Cryptoliths...
Oh, here we go.
That's my email.
This is the real question. Yeah, nice 300 tabs. Looks pretty good.
The email is not the real
So many
question.
tabs.
Shut up. This is just how it rolls. So, alright. So we have Cryptolith Rite, which is like a ritual around a Cryptolith, and then we have Cryptolith Fragment, which is verily an artifact.
Huh.
This one flips into like a ghost that comes out of the Cryptolith, which is kind of neat.
Is that also an Eldrazi?
Yep. So the whole point of the cryptoliths were designed by Nahiri to bring the Eldrazi to Innistrad because she wanted revenge on Sorin. That's the core behind them.
Okay.
So if it weren't for Nahiri, we wouldn't even need to have this conversation about what is and is not an artifact. So
I guess a sec to the Hedrons. There was aligned Hedron network in there, which is an artifact in the game, but I would argue that it's labeled, or it is an artifact in order to serve a function like within the game engine rather than being an artifact itself.
Well, aligned Hedron network is like a scenario in what we're thinking of, which I want to work on.
Yeah, we'll get to the scenarios right after we're done.
Kind of working on it already. Yeah, I'm working on a aligned Hedron network in the background.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a dope encounter. Or a scenario, rather. If it can
my point is that Magic makes some things artifacts, not because they're artifacts in a more flavorful sense, but because they need them to be a permanent on the battlefield that could be interactable by spells in some way.
It's a label so that you can interact with it. I could see that.
Yeah.
But like by lore, a Hedron's not supposed to be an artifact then? Like by the story of the game, let's say?
No, it's definitely a fucking artifact. There's no question about it.
Yeah, but because I think they are constructed. I think that I'm pretty sure 3 planeswalkers, to be specific, were involved in them.
Yeah.
I think Ugin, Sorin, and Nahiri.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah. Okay. Say. Okay. Well, also as a side note, I'd suggest changing the glyph to a glyph of telekinesis, whatever that ends up being.
So
then
the Hedron movement, you mean? Like make it telekinesis instead?
Sorry?
Arcanus, you're talking make the Hedron movement glyph, call it the glyph of telekinesis instead?
Yeah, and have it let you move a movable artifact. Something like that.
Okay. So then, is that an admission that we're going to make the Hedrons an artifact?
Yeah, I think Don's made a good argument for it.
Because the big thing with me is that if we ever make a spell that destroys artifacts, they should be able to destroy Hedrons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And should they be able to destroy cryptoliths?
Right. But then we can make a spell that can interact with artifacts and magical ruins if we really wanted to, so I'm not like that's me kind of realizing that there's more space on the table than making them must be artifacts, but
I think there probably will be things that are magical ruins that aren't artifacts.
Word.
Like more building type things rather than object type things, probably.
Yeah, I could see it. But what's it called? So with this artifact glyph, the other thing to parse out with it, so it can move so I'm picturing that it can move a Hedron or it can move one of these treasure glyph boys. Will this glyph be able to move artifact creatures once they're put into the game?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think one thing we do. I don't know who said it, but make the glyph move non-creature artifacts.
Yeah, I think that's what it is feeling like it's intended to be.
Yeah,
that's what I would support.
Yeah, if we say non-creature, if we just say move a movable artifact, then yeah, it could be done to creatures.
Yeah, so we can just call it a non-creature artifact. I think that's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to the doc then. Where were we? Glyph of telekinesis.
Telekinesis, yeah.
Move a non-creature artifact. Present spaces. So I guess we can still kick the can down the road though, by saying that Hedrons are artifacts, cryptoliths are now artifacts, but then not saying anything else about artifacts until Kaladesh.
Yeah.
Like these will be the 3 instances that artifacts are mentioned in the set.
Seems okay to me.
Have you guys played the Shadows over Innistrad scenarios that involve the cryptoliths?
Yeah.
Have you found them too hard or too easy to kill, or somewhere in between?
Me personally, I find it generally too hard to kill them.
Yeah.
Like when you're the attacker trying to kill the cryptoliths, yeah.
I think the defender has easier job.
Yeah, I played that scenario probably like 4 or 5 times, and I think I succeeded 1 time. Yeah, no, D-Dance and I played that I don't know how long ago now.
I know what one of those were.
And I literally killed all of his figures and spent like 8 turns trying to kill, I think, 1 or 2 of the cryptoliths, and I could not kill it. It was bad.
You were trying to kill 2 cryptoliths, you succeeded in killing 1, the other one had 1 life left, but lived.
It was close, I guess, yeah. I mean, so maybe it's balanced, I don't know. But no, in my opinion, yeah, the cryptoliths are generally a bit too hard to kill in that scenario, if you ask me.
Right, because in my opinion, the one thing that would convince me to not make cryptoliths and Hedrons artifacts is saying, hey, there's going to be some artifact destruction spells, whether they destroy outright or like deal damage or whatever. And it's possible that with those effects coming out, that those scenarios would become unbalanced for that reason.
Yes. Yeah. I think I mentioned that to Arcanus earlier. Yeah, saying like I don't mind. Like we could make including the cryptoliths an artifact. It's just right. Then we have to review everything else that affects an artifact at that time, because we're introducing a whole set of stuff that messes with artifacts. That Shadows over Innistrad scenario is going to be affected. Yep.
But if that scenario is already cringe, then we can just fix it. You know what I'm saying, by making it easier.
Yeah, I think it would be fair enough, like, if we had just an outright destroy artifact, it'd be fair enough to say that can't be used on cryptoliths in that specific scenario.
Because we could say that card can destroy, like, a glyph-based artifact, like an equipment or whatever else.
Maybe a creature kind of thing, like artifact creature.
For example. Like we have a lot of knobs to move around with these since there's so many different types that we can refer to. I think we can work around it. I don't think it'll be too much to deal with.
I think we can definitely. I can already think of one idea for an artifact destruction spell for red.
Yep.
Vandal Blast.
Yeah, man.
Because as far as I know, it's a very iconic red artifact destruction.
Word. Yeah, I what's it called? I discarded one today.
Mm-hmm.
But so that it's like it can either blow up one artifact or it can blow up all the artifacts you don't control. So that could be like an AoE around like destroy all artifacts within like a range. All like common artifact creatures. We can limit it by like size, but it could be like an AoE one. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys. The Hedrons. All right, let's think about this here. So, are the static Hedrons, the 3 hex and the 1 hex, the ones that aren't movable, are those still going to be artifacts? And if so, we're gonna have to differentiate to be like, we don't want those artifacts moving, right? Like, Luke, I think you and I definitely talked about it. Like, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to like lift the hex up to move these.
Yeah,
like, that's generally not. So
they should be movable.
You have STL files for all these things, Arcanus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Arcanus. I should be saying that.
STL is the movable Hedron gonna be on like a glyph type of base?
It's on the same base as the trees.
Yeah, it's like a thin. It's gonna look kind of like a glyph, Don. Yeah, it's like a thin base, like the trees. Yeah,
I like that.
Where do I have the picture of it?
We can just make a keyword for artifacts that can't be moved. I don't think that's too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can just say Or would it be fair enough to just say move a movable artifact?
Movable artifacts. Well, we want to. It still has to be a non-creature movable artifact, right? 'Cause we have-
Movable non-creature artifact, yeah.
I mean, or I mean, so why
movable
are you guys?
non-creature artifact.
I have a question. Yeah, why are you guys against having this be capable of moving a creature? I actually kind of like that idea to be like, if you want to move your own creature or an opponent's creature or an artifact creature. Like, why are you against that? I think there's some fun design space to be had. Like, to make the glyph more appealing to players, especially, to go after.
It would be pretty funny if you have like a creature artifact creature list versus a non-artifact creature list, and then it's like, word, if I take this glyph, I can move your shit around.
Like, I don't mind. Like, that doesn't bother me. I just, yeah. I guess it depends on, what kind of artifact creatures we release and how badly this could bone them.
Is it different enough that we can make that 2 different glyphs?
I personally don't think so. Like, in my head, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna fight about this, but I kind of just feel like, why not just call it a movable artifact and have that include artifact creatures? I think that's a fun use for the glyph to be like, I don't know, it has more use. And as far as I think maybe the more important part is right, define X spaces. Like, yeah, are we gonna make that 5? Or are we gonna make that 3? Because if we make that too large, that's when it'll probably be a little bit too powerful to move an opponent's artifact creature 5 spaces, towards us, so we can murder it, really easily.
And if we have things like the lava fields and the lava hexes, then throwing someone else's figure into our lava or some other damage dealing space cause problems.
Well, blue's already gonna do that nonstop, dude. Like, blue is literally gonna butt rape every color once lava shows up. So that's not even a concern to me. No, well, actually, I guess it's a small tangent, but I would just change lava rules. Like, I would never want to port HeroScape's lava rules. They're terrible. This is just dumb.
Don't they only trigger at the end of rounds anyway?
Well, no, not molten lava. Yeah, the lava fields are the end of a round. Like, within AOTP, we don't have a round. So that, for the lava fields, I'm talking like the molten lava, where it's like you die unless you roll a 20 on the D20. Like, that's just terrible. It's not good. Like, in my mind, we can hash this out at some point, but I would not want to port, especially the molten lava rules. That's just bad. But number one, like, just because of like Jason Blue, like, if you can just lava dunk everybody's figures at a 95% chance to one shot them, especially planeswalkers with the Mind Stealer, it's just it's not a good mechanic. But I would say, like, molten lava should just be like, you take 1 automatic damage, or like maybe you roll a combat die, and if you get a hit, you roll another one. You keep rolling 1 combat die until you don't get a hit. Like, we'd have something that's going to be a little more under control, but still worthwhile to be like, yeah, I want to dunk this guy's figure in the lava.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be all for it affecting creatures as well. It's glyph.
I just think,
a creature.
I think if we do that, it would have to be limited. Like, I don't know if I'd want to see it do more than maybe 3-4 spaces.
I think 30 would be max if it can move creatures.
Yeah, it can move like an opponent's creature, especially. Yeah.
Well, if it's too much movement, then the glyph will wind up trivializing the Hedron alignment scenario in favor of the aligner.
Trivializing it in favor of who? Sorry?
So like the alignment scenario in Arcana, you can tell me if I'm misunderstanding the vision here. So like, I'm imagining we'll have on the map, there'll be like, you'll have your stationary Hedrons are going to be in kind of a line with some spaces, and then there's going to be some movable ones you have to move into place.
Yeah, that was the idea.
So then the scenario is going to be balanced on the fact of how far the Hedrons that has to be moved into place are going to start.
Yeah, but versus the Eldrazi player being able to destroy them, or destroying enough of them.
Right, or, just kill your figures so you can't move that shit no more. Right, but if they're 5 spaces away, and then the glyph is like, oh, move 1 5. Hold on.
Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be too many spaces.
Well, we're making.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah, we have to find like that balance to be like, like the glyph has to be worthwhile, especially for the scenario. Like, it has to be worthwhile for the scenario, but it definitely does. We don't want it to be too broken.
Yeah.
That'll just probably require some playtesting. But yeah, me personally, again, I think that's a lot of fun play space that like you can if you can move an opponent's artifact creature, that like it gives more like it gives you more reasons for you to try and tackle like the glyph or even protect the glyph or take it for yourself, yada yada. Like if you're worried about it, get to it first. Then I guess fight for it.
Yeah. And yeah, I think probably 3 spaces should be a good balance. We'll have to check it.
Yeah, my first guess, I would say 3. I see potential for 4, but again, it kind of depends on how we design that scenario. But I feel like 3 is just a good base.
Yeah, I think 4 might be a bit much for that scenario, and for perhaps other things. Moving someone's creature 4 spaces might be a bit much.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I think 5 would be. I think 5 is where it's. Yeah, that's too much. I think 4 would be like the upper limit in my head.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll put it to 3 for now, and we can see how that goes.
Okay. All right, are we finally done with this this point that I didn't think would take this long?
It's like it.
The 1 out of, what is it, 6 or 7?
That's fine.
7, yeah.
All right. Did Don just take off? I think he might be okay for
before I got a game.
Uh-oh. Did Don just leave? He bailed.
I said he'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Right when we're about to get to his points. Okay, well, number 4. Do you guys want to move number 4? We have a Diamond Kaleidoscope. Do we still want
What
this
does
in
that
this
do
set?
again?
Sorry, go ahead, D-Dance. What was that?
What does that do again?
It's an enchantment.
Use a colour. Enchanted Squad is that colour. This only affects the colour of figures on the battlefield. Creatures in graveyards are considered their original colour.
It's basically just an enchantment to change a squad's color to a color of your choice. We haven't playtested it at all. It's just, alright, in my mind, it's kind of out of place, like thematically. Like it's just kind of a random colorless spell. Where like almost all, I'm gonna look at, literally all of the other colorless spells are like Eldrazi themed. Like they have like the Eldrazi art and all that crap. I don't really mind keeping this in here, but at this point, I do get the feeling that it's kind of like it sticks out like a sore thumb.
I think maybe if we do, like, still want it, move it to Kaladesh or a set that it would fit better in. I think I kind of like the concept of it.
It's to say, it might be worth exploring this idea as an artifact equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, so then, well, at least between the 3 of us, so we'll I don't know, just cut it out of here. Hopefully we'll remember to like re-add this as an artifact or something in the future, though.
What I'm thinking, what I'm thinking with Diamond Kaleidoscope is, like Arcana said, make it like an equipment artifact.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably end up actually not putting it into Zendikar. I'd probably end up putting it into like Kaladesh or Kamigawa.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're gonna make it into an equipment, especially, that's probably Kaladesh or later. So that's fine. Yeah. At this point, yeah, my question was right. Does this need to be in Zendikar expeditions at all? And I would say, since the 3 of us say no, or at least it can be moved at a minimum, that's fine. I'm on board. Because yeah, I look at it and like I haven't felt the need to play test it. It just feels like out of place. Like I like the idea, absolutely. It's just out of place with this set, I think. So yeah, let's. I don't know. Do we just delete it out of the dock, Arcanus? Do you want to just delete this thing out of here? I don't know what.
I was just thinking, can just make another document quickly for Kaladesh, and then
it's just gonna go in there as like a random floating idea.
Be the only thing there for now.
Okay, that's fine. That's better than nothing.
Well, luckily that was a quick one.
I figured most of these would be rather quick, like other than 1 and 2.
Number 3 was not very quick. It took up like half of the meeting time.
I guess it mostly hinged on things that I hadn't thought of. That like, yeah, it was like, yeah, Arcanus brought up, like, oh, then if we have to say, oh, it's gonna be an artifact, well, then we have to define artifacts and think ahead. So that was really the big talking point there.
Yeah. Okay. But actually, on that note, I'm going to quickly add that into the doc.
Yeah, you want to be like, oh, so we're
because-
gonna have like an artifact glyph, an artifact creature, an artifact, I don't know, object, destructible object. I don't know, dude.
I don't think we don't need to go through all that in Zendikar. We can just say
No, I just mean, but
Hedrons
yeah,
artifacts, cryptoliths are artifacts, this glyph moves movable artifacts,
Okay.
and then leave it at that. And then everything else can be added. We won't have contradicted anything.
I'll add that. I guess. Do you want me to add that in like the miscellaneous notes in the doc? Just be like, what is it?
I'll put it on the
Oh, you're
rules
already
here.
on it. Okay.
Say Hedrons and cryptoliths are artifacts. That doesn't need a capital letter.
Okay.
Cool.
And do you want me to add any notes in particular to the actual? Where were the Hedrons at? Right here, where it says magical artifacts. Oh wait, oh well, you already made it. You already looks like somebody
Yeah.
changed it to magical artifacts. Okay. Okay, never mind. That's all done.
Yeah, and trade. Yeah. Cool. Alright. Okay, so that's those points covered. Say, next on the list then, if we're happy to move on.
Yeah. I'm happy to move on.
I think, of course, if both of you are okay with it, I'm thinking we go down to number 7 because, not for time reasons. It just seems like something that we should probably talk about.
We could.
And-
All right. So, D-Dance. The reason I put that there, that was more of a, well, this is just my stance on it, but that was kind of there more as like a filler in case we got through 1 through 6. This is just me, but I don't think that's really something that we need to talk about regarding Zendikar expeditions right now. Arcanus, do you have thoughts on number 7? Should we talk about that right now? I don't mind if we do, I suppose. That again, that was supposed to be like a filler in case we didn't have anything else to talk about at the end.
The reason
But go
I
ahead.
wanted to
Alright,
talk
D-Dance.
about it is it seems like a very opinion sort of thing.
Yeah, it
I
is.
don't think us as a group of 4 people can concrete answer for. We'd have to ask like a community of people like, hey, what do you think makes a fun and good AOTP map? I don't think that's something us as a group of 4 people can decide.
Well, yeah, exactly. This isn't, again, this number 7 was kind of a point of like discussion, not really for us to be like, let's put this in the rules and say, you have to make your maps like this. It's just more of a, like, for me, because like when I look at like Heroescape maps, like, and like even you and I, D-Dance, like we've played a game and it's like, what was that Sirocco map, and it's like that map was terrible. It was just terrible for AOTP, like it's just bad.
Yeah, I genuinely don't want to play ever again, even if it's Heroescape.
It's funny you guys mentioned Sirocco because I listened to a Heroescape podcast.
Yeah.
Also, I'm baptized. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
I did mute to like go get dinner and stuff, but also my Discord like apparently crashed after that. So I don't know. Anyway, I listened to this D&D Heroescape podcast.
Yeah.
They had some map makers on. They were talking about like big map makers on the forums like Dignan and Bad Wookie and Game Bear and them.
Yeah.
So and they were talking about Sirocco. They're like, oh my god, like when Sirocco came out, like everybody was nutting their pants. It was such a cool map, and I was like, I remember that one. The AOTP boys in shambles.
Yeah. So wait. So were there current, like, did you get the impression that they still currently thought Sirocco was a good map?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, dude.
Weird.
Like, and there's like no way. I could never vote that map as a good AOTP map. So like, there's something different for sure.
There is definitely something different I've found. I've been trying to crack that nut. It's a little tough, but I'm working it out. I kind of have to do.
What? I'm curious now. What do they think that makes Sirocco a good map? I'm curious now.
So It has some technology where there are shadow tiles next to jungle tiles, which give you 2 defense.
Yeah,
when
and the
you're-
melee units can walk right through the middle, and like they're Gucci.
Yeah. So it doesn't. Problem with a lot of early maps, and I was learning this when I was listening to this podcast. They were like, where early maps would be like either very melee favored or like ranged clown fiestas. Like if there wasn't enough LOS blocking, it would just be like, oh, where do you take range and shoot the shit out of their army before they get to you?
Yeah, the very early ones were like, I have, like there was high ground, but like it wasn't in the dead middle, but rather like a few spaces from the start zones. So there was like, oh, I have mine and you have yours, now let's shoot each other. Oh, and if you brought ranged one, you're just boned because now you got to walk 2/3 of the way across the map to get to me. Yeah, it was bad.
So I think that is one of the things that makes Sirocco like a popular escape map.
I would say if you wanted my guess, I would be definitely the shadow plus the jungle trees in the middle. Just means there's a lot of melee figures, like they can dominate the middle easily, and they get +2 defense against ranged attacks. But that, yeah, I'm not sure what it is yet. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something different about AOTP that it doesn't work for AOTP versus.
I think AOTP has less figures on average.
Yeah. Oh, it does, absolutely.
I don't think that's a question. I think it's a fairly easy statement to make that AOTP has less figures than a standard HeroScape army.
Yeah.
And you have like your king/queen piece, like. So that's why I've been that's one of the reasons I've been experimenting with these, smaller maps.
Yeah. I generally get the idea that the smaller maps seem to be more fun and interesting. But I think it's partially because summoning.
Get into combat pretty much immediately, but it does have that kind of, at least in my opinion, I like scrapping it out.
Yeah, sure.
So.
But anyway, yeah, so we kind of talked about that, but yeah, I didn't really... Number 7, talking about like what's a good or a fun map. Yeah, the subjective, I get it. That was supposed to be like filler conversation. That's why it's probably not a very well-pointed question. Anyway, scenarios. What I would like to jump back to. We got about 40 minutes, huh? Scenarios. So yeah, we have the Royal / Defend the Seagate, and then the Hedron alignment. So we have like basically nothing figured out for these, right? Other than we've basically now officially designed the Hedrons.
So they have a card in there?
Is there going to be a card? Arcanus, did we ever talk about that?
A card for what? Sorry.
So, the destructible Hedrons, the movable Hedrons, is there going to be an army card for them? Like, we have a destructible object card for Cryptolith listed down here.
Yes. Say, did I never write that down? Oh, yeah, no, it is.
Is it somewhere and I just didn't see it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's under each Hedron. Yeah, so they'll be there as reminder cards. They won't actually be army cards, but they'll be that layout and size.
Yeah.
But just there as a reminder.
Oh, you even have the cards for the static Hedrons. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that for? Basically, just to be like, here, like you can't summon adjacent to these things, etc. That. Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, like, same way as the Cryptolith, all the Cryptolith's properties are defined by the rulebook. And that continues to be the case from a game engine point of view. But there'll be a reminder card that you can put next to the battlefield.
Yeah, that's a fine idea. Okay. So maybe before we talk about the scenario, and now I am jumping around a bit, maybe we go to number 2, though. And Arcanus and D-Dance, I don't know if you saw what Don and I were talking about. But as far as, Arcanus, you and I had talked, we decided, like we're going to use Hedrons as like a map making tool so that like you can place a Hedron on a specific point, like probably on high ground, so that you can't summon creatures directly next to it. So to make summoning more interesting rather than just put the guy on the highest space on the map.
Yeah.
Which some games that's almost all it takes. So we got that down. I still want to stick to that function of them. But I think Don, you mentioned it, where it was like, what about introducing something that says,
well, what about project self?
Yeah, like, do we stop spells or like things that like allow extra mobility, which can be kind of out of control with blue sometimes, or red. Like, do we want to do something that says a creature can't move adjacent to a Hedron unless it's currently that creature's turn or that figure's turn? Let's say, as like a magical, as in the Hedrons are messing with things magically. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe, but then I think it would be fine for them to just what was I saying? Yeah, no, I think it would be fine to teleport next to them. Because functionally, that's not much different to just walking up to it.
Word. The summoning is the main thing, and
Yeah.
be like
Putting the reins on summoning is good. All right, so then.
And I think, as I read through that discussion, like you were also talking about Nahiri. So like Nahiri's pass through stone should work on Hedrons, I would say. She should be able to go through them.
Okay. Well, so
I can agree with that.
I don't think the point was that you can't go through them, but rather you can't like end that move next to them. Like you can't move. Well, yeah, I guess never mind. You wouldn't be able to, I guess, move on a space adjacent to them either. I don't know where I'm going now.
We were talking about that, and I was like, I was down for that, but I'm not. It's not like a hill I'm super invested in. I think the summoning thing on its own is pretty dang cool and can be worked with. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea, Don. It's just like defining, like how do you define? Like, and like the one I mentioned to you, Don, was like, yeah, we would bone the Ghoul Vanguard, which like I don't know, do we consider that magical? But to be like, it's the Ghoul Vanguard's turn, and then you move and attack with another zombie squad creature. So it's like, if we make it so that the Hedron blocks like abilities or like like it has to be that figure's current turn. Like the bonding effect is kind of boned from that. But Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, summoning is the main thing.
I was moving on to another point.
That's fine. No, let's move on. We're good.
Yes. So with the Hedrons, so you're saying for all of them, can't summon creatures next to you.
Yeah.
But then, other than that, it's just the movable ones that then have extra abilities. The movement is one property of it, and then destructible. You were saying something about before about like exploding extra damage when they're destroyed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wait, did we ever hash that out? I think I mentioned that to Don.
It's not in the doc, so clearly not properly. But I think we were saying something like excess damage gets dealt to all adjacent figures upon destruction, or something like that.
Didn't you and I talk about that like briefly? Maybe we just never finished, or maybe we decided against it. No, the point was it's basically going to be giving trample. Like, effectively anyone that attacks a Hedron, like, gets trample from attacking it. And that splash damage would, like, hit every adjacent figure, let's say. So, like, if you overkill a Hedron by 2 damage, so the Hedron gets destroyed, every figure that's adjacent to the Hedron also takes 2 damage.
I'd be fine with that, actually.
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I can definitely see ways to abuse that, though.
Do you? Because
yes.
both players know that it could happen.
Well,
true.
So here's one big thing: is that we literally have the Glyph of Telekinesis, which lets you move a Hedron 3 spaces, and then you can blow it up and try and nuke your opponent. Is that going to be too swingy? I don't know, but there's potential.
So it's definitely abusable.
I don't know if it's abusable. So here's the thing. So we don't have stats labeled for these Hedrons, like their life and their toughness. Don, I think you were asking. So like, how abusable that is going to be like you're still rolling dice. There's going to be some luck involved. Especially, it depends on what their toughness and their life is, though. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, true. I think we said when you and I briefly discussed it, we said 3/3 is like a baseline. We could work with that.
That was just a random number I made up. Yeah, I just said probably 2 to 3 life and 2 to 3 toughness. That was just my own opinion, though.
Now, what's the stats on the Cryptolith, right? The Cryptoliths.
I think Cryptoliths are 3 life, 3 toughness. I'd have to go look, but I'm pretty sure they're...
I'm surprised you had so much trouble killing him in that case.
Yeah. you would think.
I think it's the toughness part.
Yeah, the toughness really messes with dealing consistent damage.
Well, that and they're not creatures. Like, dude, creatures are kind of easy to kill because like there's so many spells that you can just nuke. You can do shit. The cryptoliths aren't creatures, so like you can't just nuke a cryptolith, you know.
One day we'll
On
have
that point,
to deal with this problem.
if one of these Hedrons is next to another Hedron or a cryptolith, is that object dealt damage when it blows up?
Wait. Say that again.
Chain reaction moment.
So, if a movable Hedron is next to another movable Hedron or a cryptolith, at the point it blows up,
Yeah.
will that one be dealt the excess damage?
Ooh.
Because
what
I
would
think
happen if that one blows up?
with the Fortress Door, from what I can recall of those rules, is it does get hit by splash damage and like special ability type damage,
Yeah, it
and
does.
like the grenades and stuff.
I'm pretty sure you could target the door, and then like all the figures next to the door can be
Yeah.
blown up. Therefore, yeah. So it's a question of right. Do we want this to be? And yeah, therefore this would affect the cryptolith type, or the cryptoliths. I don't mind that. At least not right now. There's no way to know, right, without playtesting. As a gut reaction, I think that's fine. To be like you can chain
but
them up, sure.
Dealt to adjacent objects then.
Okay. Oh, and objects includes figures. Okay.
Yes. Pretty sure.
I can definitely think of a goofy interaction already
Okay. Yeah.
of like a Hedron next to a Hedron and one of the Hedrons exploding. But I don't think it would ever happen if we definitely clarified that it won't happen. Basically, well, I don't know why I thought this, but just infinite damage in like that area, because Hedron would deal splash damage to another Hedron. That Hedron would explode. So basically, the way to prevent that infinite damage loop is just say, okay, when it's destroyed, just immediately take it off of the board. Don't let any other state-based effects happen to it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like,
Think of it kind of like the stack from Magic.
it's not gonna blow
The
up.
stack.
Yeah.
I see. Right. So
No, I
you're
don't
thinking
think
right.
that-
It blows up, and then the one next to it blows up, therefore triggering the original one to blow up again, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no way we would intend for that to be the thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
we absolutely be like, it blows
yeah.
up, but it's removed immediately. And that, like, that's what we could say. We could say remove it, and then deal that damage to all adjacent. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way where you can, we can word this so that
Yeah.
logically, there's no way that's gonna happen.
Like, no infinite damage for you.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll have that under control.
Word.
Good.
Even I think technically the rules would prohibit that anyway. Certainly they would in Magic. I'm not sure if the rules are written as precisely enough for Arena, but because even if they triggered each other at the point you came to resolve them, the second time the second time it blew up, it would no longer exist, so the ability wouldn't exist anymore on the stat.
Yeah, it would be in the graveyard or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
the ability would be countered by the game.
Yeah, but
Countered by the
Yeah, it would.
hell yeah. Hey,
So that is where it's counted as a state-based effect, is the wording that Magic uses.
Okay, yeah.
Which is essentially saying the game engine cancels the effect and it disappears.
Works for me. Don, what's up?
You know? Sorry, I was just saying that if we ever accidentally invent an infinite in AOTP, that would be a black mark upon us as designers for sure.
Yeah, it'll probably happen.
How did we
But oh
get
well.
to this point?
You know?
So we're not having a cycle of infinite leaps like they did in Kaladesh.
No, Kaladesh,
Don't-
they specifically avoided that because it happened in Myridan or something. But like,
In Mirrodin?
just
In
put
the Kaladesh block, there were like 3 or 4 infinite loops you could set up quite easily.
you're right. What a fool I am.
It was quite entertaining. Well, I remember the pre-release. One team we played had managed to get one of the infinite loops in their pre-release decks.
Oh my god.
It was entertaining.
Oh yeah.
But basically, to put it simply, don't do what the Magic devs did.
Yeah.
Word.
Don't pull a Magic the Gathering card game dev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Rosewater's podcast, he tells me to avoid infinites too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it should be a bit easier for us. There's far fewer cards to consider.
Yeah, this game doesn't quite work like that either, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the Hedrons. So he said, explain. So I guess the point I was making is that the movable Hedrons now have three main properties. One is that they're movable, one is that they're destructible and will explode, and one is that you can't summon creatures adjacent to them.
Yep. Whereas
the other two Hedron types just have the can't summon creatures adjacent to them. So I think... are there any other abilities we could give to the other ones that would be interesting but not too would not have too much of an effect?
The first thing that comes to my mind is something to be like when you're making a ranged attack, you can't count those spaces for your attack. That's kind of generic though, and might not make enough sense. But so yeah, like you can't
One
count
thing that
through...
I can
Go ahead.
One thing that I can think of already that would be difficult to keep track of, but like, I believe in the story the Hedrons are used to trap the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we could do something like you can like store a creature in a Hedron. When that Hedron is destroyed, do something with that creature, like put it where the Hedron was, or that creature is also destroyed. Like, you store a creature in the Hedron, kind of like how the Hedrons were used to trap the Eldrazi.
That sounds more like a vehicle to me.
It does.
We'll save that for
It sounds like
Kaladesh.
the Hellbolt from Shadows over Innistrad.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking of.
Or yeah, like trapping Emrakul in the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That
but we're
would be
talking
cool.
about D-Dance. So
That would only
D-Dance.
apply to the movable Hedrons because they're the only ones that are destructible.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. D-Dance. Yeah, these are going to be indestructible. These are kind of like the trees or like the
Okay.
castle walls. These the 3 hex and the 1 hex Hedrons that we're talking about. So like they can't be destroyed, but it's rather like, do we give them some other weird ability that maybe the movable ones won't have? Is that what you're asking, Arcanus?
Yeah.
Then I think we can still have that ability by technicality. It's just remove like the when it's destroyed effect and have it be like this creature doesn't count to like it as it's on the field. So like if the game, like if the person controlling the creature has no figures left on board, that creature still doesn't count to being actually on board.
The exiled.
It's just like, think of it like a bank.
Okay, yeah.
Like a bank IRL. You store something in it, and it stays there. Yeah,
So
like,
who can exile them with the Hedrons? Would it be you exile your own stuff, or can you exile an opponent's figure?
How would I deposit stuff into
probably-
the bank? That's the question. How do I deposit stuff into the bank in this situation? And or who's doing the depositing? Yeah, like what's the process?
I'd say only you can deposit your figures to avoid just depositing all of your opponent's stuff to win the game, like Blue's unsummon.
Yeah.
Like Blue unsummon shenanigans.
Okay, yeah.
I think to like deposit something in it. I know I'm recycling this from a concept I've already made, but like just like move on to the space that the Hedron's on, and it's just like, and the creature just stops existing. Like you can't move through the Hedron, but you can move onto it,
Yep.
and that's how you deposit.
Right. Well, because we're gonna have an object card, right? Arcanus, is this supposed to be like an army card? I'm imagining an army card when you say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could like literally just say, place a figure on the Hedron's army card. That's not gonna be hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I think that's one type of ability that we could give them.
And then how'd you get them out again?
Yeah, I was about to say. So what's the point of doing this, right? What do I get for doing this?
Well, for one, it's a safe creature that can't be interacted with. Like for
That goes
example,
both ways.
you wanna keep like a creature for like the end of the game. You can keep a creature in that Hedron and then bring it out when the end game reaches. And how you get it out? Yes, the card is selectable. It's like the card can still, so you can with that and.
Is he cutting out for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just like cut out
No.
completely for us. Oh no.
I can imagine some.
Okay.
So did you repeat that?
So did you get like what you would get out of it?
I got up to, you said the armor card would be like selectable. I assume you mean like the Hedron card would be selectable?
No, the
No, the army card of the figure
of
of
whoever's
the creature
Okay.
stored
Yes,
would
yes.
still be selectable.
Okay.
So you can like take your turn with it and then move it. But it's like it's not on the board.
So like instead of moving, you can pull it out of the Hedron again.
Yes.
Oh, is that instead of moving? Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we could have it instead of moving, take it out of the Hedron to make it more balanced, I guess.
Yeah, because it would be broken if you made it like an indestructible
Yeah.
shell that then you could like walk 5 spaces out of immediately. I feel like it
Yeah.
would be broken anyway. But like to say, right, that like instead of moving with said creature, yeah, you can then place it onto the map, adjacent to a space. Sure, maybe. Is that something that typically happens in the card game? Like, so creatures climb into the Hedrons?
well, I mean, there are things that
Go ahead, Don. Let's let Don speak.
like there one of the Hedron cards actually kind of does this.
Okay, no, it's fine. You don't have to show me. Like, as long as it's a thing, as long as like it's happened in like the lore, it's just got to make sense,
Yeah, the reason why I said like creatures can enter them is because like how they're supposed to like trap the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
That's why I think like creatures can enter them. Well, leaving them is a bit off.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. So.
Yeah, like you could some shenanigans you can do, and when I say that, I'm kind of saying like use cases, not that they're absurd or anything. So like the phoenixes, you need to have a phoenix in order to revive.
Yeah, like
can
store a
store-
Phoenix and a Hedron.
Oh, word, yeah, I have less phoenixes to attack with, but if I need one back, I know that I can get it.
Okay, not bad.
Is that worth it? Is that worth it? I'm not entirely convinced, but it is an option, I guess.
Yeah. Or if the terrain was a bit wacky, instead of having to track around, you could put a creature into a Hedron one turn and then bring it out another turn into a different space.
Yeah.
Wait, that's actually sick.
So
Especially
then,
with the 3-hex one, you could pick
Yeah.
all those hexes around it to come on. Wait a minute.
all right. So then, yeah, this begs a question. Then, like LEAs. Let's say you're engaged to 3 figures and you want to hide in the Hedron. Do I take LEAs for doing that?
Oh, you say when
Because I think
exiled, does it keep its damage on it, or does damage get healed upon exile?
it's
Well,
like
we don't
army
have to call it
card?
exile, do we? Like, we could just say, hey, place the figure on this army card. We don't have to call it exile. If that's just something we should know.
I think days though because I think enter is by onto the space. I think LEAs would work how normally work
Okay.
because like the moving technically LEAs could still happen,
Okay, yeah.
but like moves on to like one space and then like disappears from the battlefield. Then I think, let's say there are other creatures next to the Hedron that are engaged, creature moving.
Yeah.
Those creatures next to the Hedron wouldn't be able to get the LE because technically it's not leaving engagement, it's not in existence.
Right. It kind of begs.
I have no clue if that made sense.
Yeah, no, it becomes like it's almost like flying, right? Like flying, it even specifies. It says when you start flying, you take leave and engagement attacks because it's not the same as normal moving. It's really like teleporting in all reality. So then it becomes it's like, do we want to put a phrase to say, when you climb into the Hedron, you take any LE?
Quite a lot of text.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I'm kind of worried that this might be text heavy.
True.
And another question to think about is, what if everything on our side of the field is dead and we have one guy left and he's in the Hedron? What happens? Like, am I forced to remove him from the Hedron? What happens?
Technically, I think by technicality, because it's not on the board, you lose, I guess. So it's a risk but reward sort of thing.
Okay.
So it lose because on your turn you'd be forced to pick that army card, and then in its move you'd have to move it out the Hedron.
Yeah. So in theory you could still attack with it, but what would there be to attack? You'd essentially just, especially since your opponent would probably know that it's in the Hedron. So then, like, what's the point of, like, having figures next to the Hedron if your opponent has something in the Hedron that'll just come out, attack, and then die? No clue if that made any sense.
No, I get what you're saying. In essence, your opponent can play around you having the ability to bring it out and attack. But yeah, I don't like. You said it was like a risk reward. I don't really see the reward too much in doing that. Using it as a kind of war thing, like Arcana suggested, seems like an interesting map making proposition, though.
Using it as a what thing? Sorry?
A map making proposition.
What do you mean a map making proposition? I'm confused.
Like, it would be cool to make it around concept.
You use it for movement by entering the Hedron on one side and then exiting on another side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So all in the same turn kind of thing, you mean?
No. But like building a map around that idea would be fun.
Oh, I see.
I think that's possibly one of the rewards of storing a creature into the Hedron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another reward is you're saving it for, like, let's say it's something that could be really good for a late game, but you don't want to risk your Planeswalker dying. For example, if it's like Old Gideon, like Old Gideon sucks, so like you don't really want to have him move in because, for one, he's your Planeswalker, he's very important. But if he does end up dying, you still have that good endgame creature still technically alive, just not on the board.
Yeah.
But I'd say that's another reward for it.
Yeah, I guess I get that. What's it called? I've definitely had some shit that I was trying to save for later get stranded on my walker, and then my walker gets blown up. I'm like, although that's a moot point in Assassinate the Planeswalker scenarios.
Yep.
But that's interesting. It's a cute little idea.
Yeah, I think that works. So, are we saying, should that just be the 3?
I would say make it for both the 3 hex and the 1 hex static ones. Why not?
Yeah.
Try it. I think I think the Hedrons themselves have to be tried first. Like, this is a pretty complicated ability.
That's true.
So like I would be willing to play to get a scenario working with Hedrons, try them out with as simple as possible, and then consider this rule.
Yeah, sure.
Even after like a test or two, and I do have an idea of how of what we could do to make that work, or to get the scenario working. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that that's on the the docket to consider.
All right, good. Well then, so we've got So we're basically done with number 2 here. So we'll jump to number 1 for our last 12 minutes. I do gotta go. I'm probably gonna have to go right about at 8 o'clock. So the scenarios. We have 2 scenarios. Does that seem about right? Like everyone happy that we'll make this defend the Seagate, or Arcanus, you called it the Royal, I think, and then we have the Hedron alignment, which we've already basically been talking about. But those are like the 2 basically key scenarios we're including for this set.
Yeah, so the aligned Hedron network, the idea was that one team had to move the Hedrons to trap the Eldrazi. One team were the Eldrazi trying to destroy, well, there's 3 Hedrons, so I guess once they've destroyed like 2 or 3 of them, they win or something like that. But I hadn't gone much further than that in thinking about it. I think, Don, did you say you've been doing something about that?
Yes, Hedron alignment has definitely set my imagination on fire. What do you have in mind for defending Seagate?
I had nothing in mind for the role, other than that the role was a thing, and I thought, hey, there could be some kind of universal land effect going on.
Okay, alright. So
when you said that, my mind immediately shot to the 2 scenarios that I made for like Phyrexia, not Phyrexia.
I've seen your customs, but not your scenarios.
Oh yeah, for the like the World Breaker and all that.
Yeah, so basically what I think, if I am remembering correctly, I think it's at the end of who is defending them, something happens with it.
Yeah, didn't you say it was like roll a d20 and it would do some kind of effect?
Yeah, it's like a roll a d20, some kind of effect will happen.
Yeah, I could see an effect table for a royal encounter. That could be fun.
Right, because that's what the royal is supposed to be, right? Like it's like crazy weather or something.
Yep, basically.
That might not be a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, could definitely. We definitely.
Yeah. So
that one.
So I just opened the dock now.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just opened the dock for the scenarios. And yeah, it's at the end of the defending player's turn, roll the d20.
Oh,
and then
okay.
it's a table of effects.
You're talking about your...
Work that out at some point. But the Royal is definitely the one I have less of a mind about. So I have this, what's it called? Yeah, if you want to link that, I'd be willing to check it out. D-Dance. But I have this map set up, and I wanted to set up a more Seagate E1. But what I've been trying to answer the what makes a map fun question with this, and this is two tiles from AOTP base game that I adapted. I adapted a small map onto. I'm still working out the kinks on this one, but what really interests me about and so this is one I've been working on. Yeah. But I saw this Elsewin Plateau, and we were talking about this. This is on the Roll20 page.
Yeah, I remember Elsewin Plateau.
Yeah. So me and Unhinged were talking about this one, and I think that this has the potential to be our Seagate map, or our Hedron alignment map.
Or like for it to be like based on that design.
We have a high ground on one side, we have glyphs on the other, and then we have all these trees. So I'm thinking, so if we look at this, I believe it's pretty roughly 4, maybe 6 terrain boards
in size. So we make like a rough square, you know, and then we have 9 trees and bushes on this, right? So you see how 5 that are like kind of around the high ground, and then there's the 3, or then there's the 4 that are farther.
Yeah.
So like we could take this map, and then approximately where the trees are, we could put hedrons that are immovable, and then put the movable hedrons like farther, like where those farther away bushes are, to move into place, and have like the target squares that they're supposed to move onto and stuff. So I think that this can be a base for us to build the scenario off of, is what I'm thinking.
That seems okay to me. Just
Yeah, I think that kind of like high ground on one side, glyphs on the other approach would work well for it.
Right. Because what I also like about this map is that we can kind of double scenario it. Because the way that those start zones are is a more, how we say, symmetrical game. But then if we have one where attackers, defenders, like one side, I guess, would be on the high ground, and then the other side would be on the low ground, and that would be balanced. That could be balanced against how hard we find out that it is to move the hedrons into place. So, like, I don't know if it would be the attacker, like, because this high ground would be Seagate in our map if we adapt it.
Yeah, Seagate would be like somewhere down there.
In the story, the defenders or the started on Seagate, didn't they?
Yeah, their defenders
to Seagate.
Like the defenders would be on Seagate and trying to go and bring the hedrons back towards them.
Yeah.
Whereas if we say, "Oh, this is a mountain where some fucking Eldrazi are," then the attackers could be on the glyph side and pushing the hedrons towards the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like there's some kind of give and take there. So I don't know if, like, this is my idea. Like, this is what I've been working on, and I want to build this map, and I want to build a version of it that uses the game boards.
Yep.
And I'll have some pictures of like how that design goes. But I think gameplay wise, that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the idea that I'm like working on. So let me see.
Yeah. So my idea for the Seagate map is that, because I've got the 4 boards that are grass on one side and water on the other, that maybe do like 2 of each, so it'd be like the seaside, the sea on one side of Seagate, and then like some land, and then just use like just like grass hexes on each side to kind of like make more of the land around Seagate, and have that connected in. So it could be that like one team is up on the higher ground and across Seagate.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of enamored. Then this is like the glyph ground, right? So then we would have hedron that are immovable, and then you have hedron here that you're trying to move, hedron here that you're trying to move in. Yeah. Something like this. Does that kind of make sense, fellas?
Yes.
Okay. So then my question, as I'm working on, and I'm gonna try to like build a map for this, and then we'll have something that we can refer to, like more like this is a Heroscape map, and I'm gonna try to AOTPify it, and then we can AOTPify it more with regards to the game boards that you're working on, Arcanus and all this. So would it be better to have, so who wants to move the hedrons? The guys here on the high ground, or the guy here on the low ground?
Well,
Who
okay,
wants
so my
to
question
move?
is, wait, the Hedron movement thing, is that going to be a key part of both the scenarios? Is that the idea?
For this one, so I don't know. I think that the Hedron glyph being there would definitely make it easier for the aligner, right? But that glyph could be here in the glyph area, or up here, depending. We can move the glyph. We can keep the glyph far from the person who's trying to move it, and have the defend, like the person who's trying to stop them, like be able to defend that glyph in some type of way.
So just for clarification,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about the Hedron alignment scenario
Yeah, that's
here?
kind of what I'm asking here. Which scenario? Are we talking about the Royal or the Hedron alignment thing here? Don, I think you just lagged. Say that again.
This is for the Hedron alignment.
Okay, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the goal, right, is moving this Hedron into place. Maybe I'll try to find room for 3 of them, but this is how it's working out on my whiteboard right now.
Yeah, I think you have 3, but you need to move 2 into position.
That's
because
right,
then your opponent has to destroy 2 to win.
Oh, like we can make one of the ones already set can be destructible?
No. There's going to be 3 at the bottom that the player has to move, and the game effectively becomes there's 2 spaces that the offensive player needs to occupy with those glyphs or with the Hedrons, and then the defending player just has to kill 2 Hedrons to win. Right? That's basically it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I like this. This is good. Yep. So then that still raises. Okay. Cool. So we can do that. If we're doing all that, I almost want to say that if we put the person trying to stop the alignment down here, it'll be too easy for them to cover the.
Yeah, I think maybe if they start further away, and it's like they're both going to the middle. So one team is going to the middle to destroy the Hedrons, and the other team is going to the middle to move the Hedrons and try and defend that middle ground. While they're doing that.
We can still set the start zones on the corner, on the ends, the way that the skate map is.
Or you can just extend the map down.
Could do that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Still starting on Seagate.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's because we could keep it that way. It would be more it would be kind of more symmetrical to have this start zone. But I do think there is something kind of cool about being this is I'm the defender. I'm defending this.
Yeah.
So, but
maybe the boards the other way around, so have them long ways. So Seagate is on a short edge.
Oh, interesting. Well,
And then it's 2 boards. And
So Don, I'm thinking your idea was to try and use the same map build for both the scenarios. That's basically what you're talking about.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because in that case, we can change up the map for sure.
Yeah, not necessarily, but possibly is what I'll say.
Okay.
I think your idea about moving the fucking the terrain piece of the high ground is pretty good, because so what I have down here with the sewer run map, and I've posted this before.
Yeah.
And I've posted the HeroScape version before. But once you build this terrain piece, you can move it around on the board.
Rotate it.
And this is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot. Is it'd be like with this one, with this map in particular, one of the problems is that this water tile must the river here. It's it's a sewer canal. It has to be one space closer to one start zone than the other. So balancing this map has been a little hard. But guess what? I can just shift it around pretty dang easily, right? So once we as we build more and more scenarios, I think it'll be pretty, you know, So once I build this high ground here from the Elsewin Plateau, like we can move it around on a board and see what fits better. You know what I mean?
I think I like that idea.
Sure, it's a
Yeah.
possibility.
Like I can fucking do this and be like, oh word. Put my fucking sewer. Wait, this isn't aligned right. Why is that? Oh, because I'm cringe. That's why. But yeah, like I could literally run this along the whole thing.
It's not a bad idea,
Yeah.
considering how
Now it's a completely
flat.
different map.
Yeah, how flat the AOTP boards are. That's actually a really cool point to be like, yeah, it's like easy to just rotate the glyphs or the hexes to make it something a little different quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if, dude? Honestly, what if the royal scenario actually uses that as a concept?
We could. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll use the rotating glyphs as part of the or the rotating like hexes like that. That would be kind of cool.
Have any of you played the Harry Potter Cluedo game?
What?
The
I
Harry
have not.
Potter Cluedo.
I haven't.
So underneath it, it's like a regular Cluedo board, but underneath there's these wheels that you can turn around with the roll of a dice, and it like opens and closes the doors and changes the passageways on the map.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you can just kind of like that have like
come on, dude.
a set of
Oh, his dog is doing something, I think.
My dog just destroyed
Oh, yeah.
one of my Aeroscape trees, man.
His dog is ruining the scape.
No.
No, I got you. Anyway, go
you
ahead.
could have maybe like some hexagonal structures that get rotated round by an effect.
Maybe like by like the D20, let's say, or maybe we won't have to say it's a D20, but right, by the royal. Okay. All right. Well, on this point, I gotta go. I'm gonna have to kill the stream here. It's 5 after 8.
Yeah, I should get to bed as well.
Don, good luck with your
I
dog.
should get food.
I don't know if Don can hear us. He's gonna come back, and we're all gonna be gone. But yeah, we gotta kill the stream here. Yeah, this was a good time. I'm glad we were able to chat. It's a shame that we spent like the first hour on
like half
the
of the time.
So fucking annoying.
Uh-oh. Hey Don, man, I gotta go, and I think the other fellas are about to go, so we're calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, word. Yeah, word.
All right, I'm gonna make a note. Oh, yeah, okay, you got that. All right, I was just about to say, Arcanus. I was about to make a note about rotating the hexes as a potential feature of the scenario. All right, guys. Yeah, we'll have to schedule another meet so we can chat more about this. This was super interesting.
Yeah, for me, usually if it's on a weekend.
Yeah.
Usually for Saturdays after 3 and after for my time, and then but basically for Sundays this time works really well.
Yeah.
For Saturdays we can push it back 1 hour.
Okay.
Word.
I think Sundays
not 1
generally
hour,
work
2
better for
hours.
me. So yeah, we'll have to message in the Discord and we'll figure something out again. Arcanus is the one who's the bigger problem because he's 5 hours ahead of us. So that's
5 hours at least. Just so you know, if you Google Discord time, the top result, I think Discord time.
that's how you do that the funny thing that you did.
Yeah, Discord time generator. So you can put in a date, or time or whatever, and that copies the right format. So when you paste it into Discord, it displays in everyone's local time.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I did before.
I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, so essentially, rather than being like, oh, it's this time in this time zone, and then trying to all make our own adjustments, you can say this is a fixed time, and then everyone sees it locally.
Cool.
Okay. Discord time converter. Wait, is it time converter?
A timestamp generator.
Timestamp.
And I do know of one off of the top of my head. It's like Hammer Time, I think it's called.
Okay, it looks like I found it. It's on the stream, I think, right now. I guess I'll favorite it, actually. I'll just favorite it, and yeah. I'll add it to my AOTP folder of bookmarks. Alright, guys, I gotta go.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah, y'all take care.
Right.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
We'll have the peanut
Cheers.
gallery reconvene in the future.
Hmm.
Take it easy.
See ya.